Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from the Daily Signal dated November 25th. And it's one of those topics that you hear the left saying all the time is the opposite of what is actually happening. And it's entitled, Crime Rate for Illegal Aliens Vastly Understated, Data Shows. And you always hear from the left that, illegal immigrants are the lowest crime people in the country or whatever they say. And I'm sure the article is going to go into it. And it's like, yeah, that's not true. And also considering, just by virtue of the fact that they're here is a crime because it is illegal to enter this country without going through the proper process. But anyway, let's get into the article. It says, in June, illegal alien Victor Martinez Hernandez was charged with the murder of Rachel Morin and mother of 5 in Maryland. I remember hearing about that. It says, police in Oklahoma tracked the accused repeat offender down with a sample of his DNA recovered from a Los Angeles home invasion in which a 9-year-old girl and her mother were assaulted. So he sounds like a pleasant character. As police say, Martinez Hernandez came to the U.S. illegally to escape prosecution for at least one other murder in his native El Salvador in December 22. Yeah, so he's a good dude. We should definitely keep him here. That should never have been allowed to happen, said Harford County Sheriff Jeffrey Gowler, referring to the numerous missed red flags the case presented. His office apprehended Hernandez in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's 100% right. All these crimes against Americans by illegals are all crimes that should not have happened. It says, like the member of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua sentenced to life in prison last week for the murder of nursing student Laken Riley in Georgia, Hernandez's case is shining a light on the federal government's failure to properly vet and keep track of lawless migrants. These gaps have led to broad claims that illegal immigrants have less involvement with the criminal justice system than native-born Americans. Well, I mean, if you can't track them, you don't know if they're doing any crimes, and plus police aren't really reporting crimes at the rate they were, then yeah, sure, it's going to look like they're doing less. It's just not true, though. So as a review of the available data, however, shows that the criminal records of millions of migrants, the ones President-elect Donald Trump vows to prioritize for deportation, remain unknown due to illegal crossings, lax enforcement, and lax data collection by federal and sanctuary jurisdictions. Okay, wow, I didn't even read that. And it said what I just said, for the most part. So good to know that me and the article are on the same page. Or the article and I, for all the English aficionados out there. So it says, in addition, an analysis of the available statistics by Real Clear Investigations suggests that the crime rate involving non-citizens is vastly understated. A separate RCI analysis based on estimates developed by the Justice Department's National Institute of Justice suggests that crime by illegal aliens who entered the U.S. by July 21st cost the country some $166.5 billion. That's ridiculous. The amount of money this country spends on dumbass things is mind-boggling. It says these criminals disproportionately entered the U.S. during the Biden-Harris administration. Yeah, I think we know that. It says the problem begins with incomplete initial vetting by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. The criminal histories of migrants from far-flung countries with often shoddy record-keeping are somewhat hard to determine. It is also impractical to hold each person until he or she has passed a rigorous background check. As a result, ICE routinely releases many illegal immigrants into the country on their own recognizance and then discovers afterward that many had criminal records in their home countries. In response to a request from Representative Tony Gonzalez, Republican of Texas, ICE reported this summer that it has released 7.4 million such non-detained non-citizens into the U.S. during the past 4 decades. I thought that was going to come up and say like the past year or something. So, okay, 4 decades, a little more palatable. It says ICE reports that these include 662,566 non-citizens with criminal histories, 435,719 individuals with criminal convictions in their home countries, and another 226,847 with pending criminal charges. So you think about that, it's nearly 250,000 people that are that have been put into this country with pending criminal charges. We don't know what those are, but I mean, it could be anything from, probably like, I don't know, simple theft to murder, of course, or worse. It says these precise figures, however, do not say whether the crimes of the latter group were committed in the accused's home country or the U.S. Yep, and probably something we need to find out, but still bad one way or the other. In a July 21st letter to Gonzalez, ICE reported that 13,099 of these non-detained individuals have convictions for homicide, with 1,845 facing criminal homicide charges. Another 9,461 have convictions for sex offenses, not including assault or commercialized sex, and 2,659 face pending charges. The convictions include other crimes such as assault, there's 62,231 of those, robbery, 10,031 of those, sexual assault, 15,811 of those, weapons offenses, 13,423 of those, and dangerous drugs, 56,533 of those. These figures only suggest the extent of criminality because they only list the most serious crime committed by each individual. A murderer, for example, who has also committed a sex offense is counted only as a murderer. Wow, okay, so you don't even know everything that they've done. That's even better. As the listing doesn't include the fact that millions of migrants are violating the law because of their presence in the U.S., as I said at the very beginning. It also doesn't account for the law breaking involved in working without proper authorization or the widespread use of stolen Social Security numbers to secure employment. There's the 662,566 convicted and likely criminals make up 9% of the 7.4 million released non-citizens in the last 4 decades. The statistics miss much of the relationship between crime and illegal aliens. Non-citizens in the national docket data either surrendered to Border Patrol agents or apprehended at the border. Those who avoid surrender likely have reasons to evade authorities, such as a criminal background. But there are others who avoided being caught and won't be in these numbers. That group includes gotaways, and I've heard that term before, so it's individuals observed crossing the U.S. border illegally but not apprehended or turned back. Okay, so that's what that means. I had an idea, but I couldn't probably put it into words like this, so glad to see the definition there. It says with up to 38% of border agents shifted from monitoring to processing duties and 30% of surveillance cameras not functioning. Well, I think we need to put some of our budget into that. It says millions more likely entered the U.S. undetected, potentially including the most dangerous individuals. This U.S. Customs and Border Protection, or CPB, estimates that some 2 million such gotaways have entered the country since 2021. Okay, that's ridiculous. As the data on migrants who have been processed also understates the problem. Criminals rarely commit just one crime. So, for example, from 1990 to 2002, in the 75 most populous U.S. counties, 70% of those convicted of a violent felony had a prior arrest, and 56% had a prior criminal conviction. In 2023 in Washington, D.C., the average homicide suspect had been arrested 11 times before committing a homicide. Well, probably figure out why they're doing that, like what happened in their background. I have an idea, but this isn't the article to go into it on, but I have an idea what happened. But anyway, let's keep going here. It says data for 30 states shows that 60.1% of criminals released from prison in 2005 had been arrested again within 2 years, and 73.5% had been arrested within 4 years. The ICE data set provides a single entry for each individual. It says most violent crimes don't result in an arrest, so looking at arrests or convictions in other countries will underestimate whether illegal aliens are criminals. Across all U.S. cities in 2022, only 35.2% of violent crimes resulted in an arrest. While 50.6% of murders resulted in an arrest, just 24.1% of rapes produced an arrest, 22.7% of robberies, and 39.9% of aggravated assaults. Just mind-boggling numbers. I'm kind of stunned by all that. So it says, as the Laken Riley and Rachel Morin murder cases make clear, it is difficult to calculate all the victimization costs of crime to families and society. Using tools developed by the National Institute of Justice, Real Clear Investigations estimated the likely bare minimum economic costs of crimes committed by illegal aliens. It arrived at an estimated cost to victims in dollar terms by assuming that each of the 662,566 non-detained, non-citizen offenders on ICE's list committed just once in the U.S. the crime for which he had been previously accused. So ICE presented Gonzalez with numbers on 42 different types of crime, but the National Institute of Justice calculated the cost to victims for only 8 types of crime. Professor Mark Cohen at Vanderbilt University, who co-authored the original National Institute of Justice report, updated the list with 15 of the crime categories reported by ICE: murder, sexual assault, sexual offenses, robbery, arson, assault, burglary, larceny, motor vehicle theft, weapon offenses, drugs, fraud, liquor offenses, gambling, and stolen property. Almost got through it in one breath. Tried, but there you go. It says Cohen's updated numbers also provide estimates for the damage from child abuse, drunk driving, and vandalism, but ICE didn't collect numbers on those crimes. The National Institute of Justice's estimated losses from crime victimization include medical care / ambulances, mental health care, police and fire service costs, social / victim services, property loss / damage, reduced productivity, that's at home, work, and school, and non-monetary losses such as fear, pain, suffering, and lost quality of life. These murders account for almost $153.8 billion of the $166.5 billion in estimated criminal victimization costs. And a breakdown of the cost of crime for each type of crime is available at this link right here. And this article will be linked below, so if you want to go ahead and check that out, you certainly can. It says another $6 billion involves sexual assaults / offenses, and an additional $5.2 billion comes from sexual assaults and sexual offenses. Half of these crimes these non-detained individuals commit don't have cost estimates. Excuse me. It says these crimes include kidnapping, embezzlement, extortion, smuggling, traffic offenses, and weapon offenses. And these criminal illegal aliens entered the U.S. under multiple presidential administrations, but the size of the problem was likely larger than the Biden-Harris administration. That isn't just because so many more illegal aliens are entering the country. Under the first Trump administration's Remain in Mexico policy, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services performed background checks on immigrants. That included contacting their countries of origin. I can't imagine we get instant responses from them about what's going on with these people. It says ICE agents can't access the same databases to check on migrants, and the agents don't contact their home countries. Plus, the massive inflow of illegal immigrants has overwhelmed the system. ICE's deputy director blames the enormous workload agents face, preventing them from doing even limited background checks. There are so many coming in that the government can't house these immigrants until their backgrounds are properly checked. Nah, but let's just let them run free in our country. Says ICE has been processing criminals as they enter the country, but without identifying them as criminals. So, under the Biden-Harris administration, they have simply been released into the country, as I said. Says now they are walking freely in the United States, and no one knows where they are. There's the kicker for you. Says as bad as these numbers are, the reality may be even worse. The Biden-Harris administration is accused of presenting the border crisis so that it does not look as bad as it is, and I would have to say that's 100% correct. Says in mid-September, retired San Diego Border Patrol Chief Aaron Heitke testified how the Biden-Harris administration ordered him to not publicize the arrests of illegal border crossers identified as having terrorist ties. Yes, because why would the American public need to know that, Biden-Harris administration? Says the American Immigration Council, which strongly opposes Trump's deportation policies, estimates that it could cost $88 billion to deport 1 million illegal immigrants. But if we accept this estimate and ignore the various government benefits that these individuals might be receiving, ICE's number of 662,556 illegal immigrants implies a cost of $58.3 billion to remove them, just over one-third of the conservative estimate given here of the cost of the crimes by these criminals. You know what? I know our country's in a hole right now with money and everything, but I think the cost should just be like whatever it is, get them out, because that kind of needs to be done. And we end with, the estimate of over $160 billion in costs from criminal illegal aliens is quite likely an underestimate, and I would guess it is too. It assumes the average criminal coming into the country commits only one offense similar to what he committed in his home country, and we also aren't counting the costs of half of criminal illegal aliens. Yeah, so that number's probably much, much, much higher. So anyway, there you go. I'm pretty sure I have done at least one video previously about a similar topic, but I thought it would be nothing to go into considering this one had data behind it. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.